Hello, freaky friends. It's just your friendly neighborhood horror writer. Today, we're going to talk about 5 things you need to know about my first book, The Lesser Devil. Number 5, The Lesbian Scene. Originally, my main character, Lydia, who is bisexual from the very get-go and conception of the book, was to hook up with the character August. But I ended up having a very nice dream of Annabelle, and she wasn't even a real character yet, and just from that dream of her, I created her, and she fit right into the story. She was exactly what I needed. And Annabelle just kind of grew into this character that I can't even imagine my book without. She's definitely a diplomat. She kind of holds everything together, and you got the sense that there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to write a history of her, because I have this whole thing in my mind of how she became a vampire or part of the Bahallel. It's not about the love scenes. It's not even about the relationship between Lydia and Belle, but they just happened to develop this relationship on the side. And I think it shows a good progression between Lydia's growth throughout the book and how their relationship seems to change and progress as it goes on. And I have plans for some secrets to come out and some behind the scenes things that were going on in my first book to come out later on in the series. She is just a wonderful character, and she made my book all the more better. Number 4, places. Events. A lot of the main places that took part in my first book were based on real places that I've either been to or heard of. So the park is definitely a real place. You have the utility door, and it kind of went down into these pipes, and you would see just random clothes, and you see kind of very questionable things. And then you would hear this river going on behind everything in the dark, and it just always brought up pictures and inspired me to think of what's lurking down there. And that definitely I think led to some of the best parts of my book. The other real place was Hell's Gates Bridge. I had never got to go there before I wrote the book. I just did mainly research and looked at pictures, and I was familiar with that part of Alabama, and I think it was just an absolutely beautiful place. You have this normal vanilla world, and just underneath the surface is when all the real freaky shit happens. And I've experienced some of those things where everything just looks so vanilla, and just underneath there is some really freaky shit happening. And I have a vlog of that where I traveled down there after my book was published to Hell's Gate Bridge. I'll put the link below. Now, some of the events are definitely based on my nightmares. I've never had good dreams. For the most part, I have lots and lots of nightmares, and you just kind of get used to it. And I've used it as a point of inspiration. And some of the events are based on some real life things that have happened to me, and I think they're more honest than I would like to admit. Number 3, a pagan point of view. A lot of horror books are written by atheists or Christians, and you can definitely tell because they still have an underlying kind of monotheistic point of view or anti-religion as a whole. And my book is definitely from a pagan perspective because I'm pagan, and kind of the point of the book is the pagan perspective. And, there is a understanding of, yes, the world is monotheistic, but what is the world like when you're not a Christian? And of course, a lot of it's been dramatized and built up, and of course, suited to the genre, but my book is definitely from a neo-pagan perspective. I think the pagan religion is not represented in fiction very well. And if it is, it's usually in fantasy or high fantasy. And I think there's something lost. My book's considered urban fantasy or whatever, but it is grounded in reality. And I find that seems to be missing for me when I'm looking for books. I want a character that I can, relate to. And I want a character that understands where I'm coming from or where I want to go. It may not be your specific path, but you can understand and recognize what she's doing and why she's doing it. Number 2, were-skunks. A little fun item that I do in my books, I'm working on my second book, and in my first book, a lot of times I'll riff with my friends and just kind of play ideas off of them, and then we'll just get silly and stupid. And I remember this one trip, me and Shad were on our way to go see Play On Con, which is a Birmingham con. And, it's a long drive, and we're just sitting there and we're riffing about my book, and we're talking about shifters versus werewolves versus skinwalkers, which are 2 different things in my book. Werewolves and skinwalkers, 2 different things. So we were talking about how they were created, what is their myth, and how they work together. And I'm not sure quite how we got on there, but we started talking about were-skunks and were-ferrets and were-rabbits, and and I read a lot of there's a few horror novels and not so horror novels that have were anything and everything. And yes, in every culture there is a were something. But, were-skunk has kind of been neglected. And I felt like the were-skunk has not gotten its due. My book is a horror novel, but I had to accept the challenge. Shad challenged me to put the were-skunk in my book. And I said, challenge accepted. Now, I did kind of cheat. The were-skunk was put into a comic book that one of my fan favorite characters is creating. His name's Gray, and he is a shifter. Just a teen guy trying to make it in this crazy, crazy world, growing hair in all the wrong places, like all over. And, he's just a really likable kid. He is a lichen and skinwalker, and that is a very rare thing in my universe. And my second book is going to reveal a lot about that. So if you're curious as to where I'm going to take that, my second book, The Wendigo Rising. I'm going to be delving much deeper into the shifters part of my universe. And maybe reveal a few origin stories. And I hope to one day find somebody that will do a were-skunk comic for my book series. I would love to see that shit. One. Force of habit. My book is not a fucking tween book. My book is definitely not meant for tweens. It is not a romance novel. It's not dark romance. There is no fucking, oh, he's gonna take care of me. No, none of that shit in my book. My book is an adult book. It deals with a lot of adult themes, and I've been told by many of my readers that it actually has triggered them. Different scenes in the book, but they have been triggered by my book. There is some heavy-duty torture scenes. There is some really deep psychological struggles that adults could probably relate to more than a tween. And I feel that it's very misleading, especially nowadays, because if you see vampires and werewolves, you think tween novels. And no, I'm trying to take the horror back, baby. I'm going to take the horror back. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. I make videos every other Monday. My horror novel, The Lesser Devil, is available on Amazon. Till next time, May the night protect you as you protect the night.